unlike Jim Collins, who looked at a large sample of companies and compared the great to the good, I looked in depth at one company, and from that I built up from observation and learning a model. What is it that makes Toyota tick, that makes them so great? And the starting point is their philosophy, and it has a lot of the same characteristics that Jim Collins talks about: passion for customers, wanting to build a great enterprise, deeply valuing and caring about your people, developing them for long term. All of that requires as an underlying core value that you think long term about the business. And the philosophy was first written down by Toyota before my book came out. In 2001, they came out with the Toyota Way 2001, which is their model of their value system. It's their philosophy. And the two pillars are continuous improvement and respect for people. And they say these two pillars are completely intertwined. You can't have one without the other. Continuous improvement literally means we are improving all the time in everything we do. So if you're packaging parts, you're improving how you do that. If you are developing the next Camry, you're improving the process by which you develop the next Camry, the process by which you get customer feedback, the process by which you turn that customer feedback into design characteristics, the way that you design so that manufacturing can easily build what you design. So everything that happens in the company, accounting, financing, every aspect of the company is continually asking, how can we get better? The philosophy, at least, is that we want to be continually reflecting, checking how we're doing, and getting better. And who's going to do that? And so far, we don't have a supercomputer that can do that, and we don't have a robot that can do that. Only humans can do that. So to get continuous improvement, you need a team of people who share the values, who identify with the company, and that takes respect. Now, in Toyota's view, respect means a little bit more than we will treat you nicely, we won't yell at you and hit you, and we'll have a nice work environment with good temperatures and lighting. It actually means we will challenge you to keep on improving yourself, because that's how you're going to be valuable to the company, and that's how you're going to be a better person. The foundation for that are 5 core values. The first is challenge, and every part of the company, from the senior leaders to the shop floor worker, should be regularly challenged, because they're not going to continuously improve anything themselves or the process unless they feel some pressure. And that pressure comes from a desire to do better. It comes from specific targets and goals. It comes from very clearly understanding where you're trying to go compared to where you are on a minute-by-minute basis, ideally, or at least hour-by-hour or day-by-day basis. And it requires an attitude that whatever the challenge is, we will somehow find our way to meet the challenge. So when the earthquake in Japan happened and 500 parts were not available to Toyota and a lot of the plants were in rubble, Toyota had to stand up to the challenge and go through the process of finding out what the problems were and finding ways to solve the problems, and one by one bringing back these parts. The way they did that is through Kaizen, and there's a distinctive process for Kaizen, which I call problem solving. So continuous improvement is what you want. Kaizen is the way that you get it. And then Genchi Genbutsu is very closely related to Kaizen. Genchi Genbutsu means the way that you understand the problems is by going to the actual place where the actual thing is happening. It could be where people are designing. It could be where the customer is using the car. It could be the test track where the car is being driven. Wherever the thing is happening, you go there and you obsessively study it and try to understand the strengths and weaknesses And that's the starting point for problem solving. Now that's not enough. You need a vision of where you want to go. But the vision should be grounded in the reality so you can see the gaps between where you are and where you want to be. So the actual part, the actual place, which sometimes more generally is termed the Gemba. Respect is really detailing what respect for people means. And teamwork is teamwork. The only thing that's a little bit unusual is that when Toyota talks about teamwork, they do not separate individual development from teamwork. So they believe that the best team has individuals who are constantly being challenged, constantly growing, and becoming better team members, and then they're working together toward a common goal as a team. So if you're putting together a winning team, you're going to go through a selection process. You're going to want your team members to go through a lot of training, drills, strengthening, and you want the best players, and then you want those best players to actually work together cooperatively. So both individual development and team development are completely intertwined. So what does Toyota say about this? What is this thing, this house to Toyota? Is it a recipe to be implemented? Is there a set of tools associated with each of these and measurements to see how good you are on each? And in fact, they do have sometimes measurement systems for these 5 foundational values, and they use that for judging people. But really what the important role is to provide what Toyota calls a true north vision. They say in the Toyota Way 2001, an ideal, a standard, and a guiding beacon. So they are fully aware that continuous improvement is impossible. It's an impossible dream. There are always going to be some time, whether it's seconds or minutes or days, where you're not improving in some part of the company. And they also realize respect for people is an impossible dream. There's always going to be somebody, especially when you have hundreds of thousands of people just in the company, and then multiply that in your dealers and your suppliers, there's going to be somebody someplace at any point in time who's doing something disrespectful. So it's not possible to eliminate variability to zero variability. But the goal is to reduce the variability and get closer and closer to this true north vision. So when we talk about lean, what are we trying to accomplish with lean? And unfortunately, what's often thought of is some very narrow, very specific goal. For some accountants, it might be we've got too many people and we need to lower our cost structure, which means reduce labor cost. For others, it might be we need to reduce our inventory costs so we can free up cash. So we need to measure inventory turns and speed up the flow of inventory through our system. For others, they'll talk about lead time. If you're in a hospital, you might look at the patient traveling through the hospital and ask how long does it take from the time the patient enters to the time the patient leaves. And if we reduce that, we have more satisfied patients and we have a more efficient system. So lead time is often associated with lean. And I put what lean can do into a broader context. Really what it can do is it can completely satisfy customers in many different ways, and it can also lower costs in many different ways. And these are just some examples that are a little different than the usual thinking. So for example, if you can engineer products that solve your customer's usage problem, that's a lean project to me. It's not lead time, it's not cost reduction, it's really about innovation and creativity. If you can engineer and manufacture defect-free products, what we might call design for quality or built-in quality in manufacturing, to me that's a part of lean. On-time delivery is often associated with shortening lead time and being more reliable and predictable. Offering a full product range at market price and renewing the models frequently is another good lean goal. Now you can do that by being able to, for example, in a factory, do mixed model production and become very flexible, and therefore you're able to offer a broader range without large capital investments. And renewing models frequently means that you have a very agile a very predictable and stable engineering process and launch process for new products. And then lowering costs can, in fact, come from cutting heads. But if you cut heads, you're cutting your most valuable resource, and you're also getting everybody else nervous and perhaps lowering their commitment. There's things like value engineering, which is looking at the product and asking, how can we simplify it? How can we simplify it? How can we simplify it? So instead of taking 2 molds to make this plastic part, we could take 1 mold to make this plastic part. Eliminating waste in all your company activities, not just manufacturing, but every part of the enterprise. Assembling different products in the same production units. Again, mixed model assembly allows you to be very flexible to respond to changes in customer demand, and at the same time allows you to level your schedule because you could make a similar volume over time. One product sells more, another product sells less, and it tends to average out. And then finally, design products for manufacturing. So that means that this one organization of engineers who came out of engineering schools, and they're clean and neat, and then you've got these dirty manufacturers who are getting their hands dirty on the shop floor. They actually become a team and work together. They don't see themselves as different parts of the company with different goals, but rather all part of the same company. So if you look at these, you can kind of see why perhaps I identified with the Jim Collins work, which is a much, much broader picture of lean than simply the idea that we shorten the lead time by eliminating waste, or we use people more productively and we can cut heads and lower our labor costs. It really touches every part of the company and what that part of the company can do to add value to the customer. Unfortunately, too often lean is reduced to a waste reduction toolkit. And we've learned, and this was actually quoted, a paraphrase of a quote from Ticciano, all we're trying to do is shorten the time from when the customer places the order to when we build and ship the product. And his vision for Toyota was a build-to-order company. We have no waste. When a customer wants a car, we build a car based on that customer specifications. So this is accurate that this was the vision. So what we're trying to do is eliminate waste. When we were working for the Navy and then later the Air Force, they loved the phrase war on waste. Any guesses why they might like that? So the metaphor fit, but what is the image that you get when you have a war on waste? You're there with your machine gun or your sniper or your ballistic missile, and you've got a target. You hit the target, you wipe it out, and the target is gone. And you succeeded in the mission. So it's a vision of eliminating things, eliminate wasted steps, eliminate wasted activities, and it is blown up and it's gone, and now you can move to the next target. Is that really what was that what Sakichi Toyota was doing? Could Sakichi Toyota have invented the best loom in the world by going through the shop and finding waste and eliminating it?
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about True North values, which is the center topic with our developing leadership skills class that we're in right now. Now, one of the things that everybody says around continuous improvement is the idea is that everybody everywhere improves every day. Now, one of the things I found out when I went to Japan is nobody was going to be improving every day except for the team leaders, because everybody's working to standard work. It's pretty amazing that 80% of everybody on the shop floor is way too busy doing their standardized work job to think about improvement. That's an amazing aha for me. It's really the team leaders that improve every day. So that was one of the things that, I just wanted to share. When you think about everybody improving everywhere every day, it is not going to happen. The idea is that there's a vision for that, and that's wonderful. And there's a benefit to having a vision out there, a beacon. something you can strive to, that's impossible. So go ahead, Tom. You can take it over.
Well, that's true. I mean, you're never gonna make it, right? You're never gonna be at that point. I mean, I had a leader once who mentioned that, hey, we're already there. We're in a good place, and I told him, hey, you're already lost then, because the moment you think you've arrived, you've stopped pursuing true north.
Yeah. So
true north isn't something you reach; it's something you chase.
You got it. It's not a goal. True north is not a quarterly target. It's not EBITDA. It's not margin, not revenue. It's an ideal.
Yep.
So Toyota pursues two things that are technically impossible to perfect. One, continuous improvement. And two, perfect respect for people. Perfect respect for people. So they know they will never reach 100%. They pursue it anyways. That's the point. An impossible vision. They call it a seemingly impossible goal when they're trying to make big strides towards their vision, and that removes the short-term panic. That's what you want to do, and it replaces it with long-term alignment. So the question is not, did we hit the number? The question is, did we move closer to the ideal? So, a listener would do well to say, what is my true north in my company?
And you're right. And the thing that you mentioned there is, true north is not a number. And too many people think that it is. They put that number in there and they say that is our true north. Well, that's your objective. But to say that I'm going to make so much on EBITDA, I just don't think that's a good true north.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong, but I do think somebody else might think you're wrong, Tom.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable with that.
Exactly. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and with continuous improvement and respect for people, Toyota knows they're not going to be perfect with tens of thousands of employees out there, that everybody is being treated right. But it's continuous improvement. It's that the person, they learn, leaders learn.
Yeah.
How to respect people, how to listen.
Yeah, you got it. So it's interesting because the 5 values that they synthesized for their company, it's pretty amazing. And it's the 2 pillars. When at Toyota, they showed both pillars kind of cut and across the pillars, and then turned up, and the one called respect for people had 2 values, which was respect and teamwork. The other one, called continuous improvement, had Genchi Genbutsu. You can't continuously improve unless you go to the Gemba, which is really almost synonymous. Kaizen and challenge. So that was very evident that this is where we want our employees to have their values based. And I thought that was pretty good. They're not tools, it's a system. And to break it up even further, challenge creates tension. And that's what they want to get, a little bit of tension so you get the creative juices going. Genchi Genbutsu demands first-hand understanding. And there's a lot of consultants out there that say, Genchi Genbutsu, it's hard to remember for Japanese words. Let's just use get your boots on. Get your boots on and let's go to the Gemba, right? So go ahead, Tom.
Oh no, I was just going to say, improvement if your improvement doesn't develop people, it's not improvement. They have to learn from it. You have to learn from it.
Yeah, I want to dig a little deeper on Genchi Genbutsu, which is termed go and see. And remember our coach Ritsu Shingo. He says, no, don't use go and see. Go and see implies you're going somewhere and you're seeing. He says, I want you to go and watch, watch deeply, and use your 5 senses basically. Watch, listen, touch, everything. He just says, no, go and watch, stay in one spot for, I don't know, he didn't give a time, stay in one spot until you understand what's going on. So that's pretty amazing. Go to the real place, the place things are happening. And reports are not understanding. If you're sitting at your desk, you get reports. That's not understanding. First-hand observation creates this clarity. Okay.
Yeah. And I heard something today from somebody that he was talking about, okay, process breaks, and a young engineer or young leader runs down to the floor and he starts getting on the person doing the work. And this guy goes, all right, so if somebody does something wrong, then as leaders, we've let them down. We haven't helped them develop. We haven't trained them. The process isn't being followed. The process isn't right. There's something we are doing that is not correct.
Yeah, that's a great
So we
attitude.
have to look within ourselves. And but we say this all the time, and it's sad that companies don't listen. Everybody thinks they're too smart for a process. They think they're better than what we talk about. And what we talk about is simple, right? It's making our lives easier. But they don't like it because they just can't see that something so easy is going to make them so much money.
Yeah, that's the connection, I think, Tom. The companies out there that fall in that category that you were describing, they can't make the connection that doing this is good for business. They're not making that connection. And the more you tell them to do it, the more it reinforces what they're doing, which is incorrect, is right. That's the brain at work, right? So anyways, lean is not cost cutting. Lean is not headcount reduction. It's not a war on waste, which was mentioned. So its purpose is to get full customer satisfaction through quality, innovation, flexibility, engineering alignment. That's what we talked about. These projects are lean. It's almost like it's all encompassing. One time I said, look, lean, what about sales? Well, you can have lean in sales as well, right?
Yeah.
Waste reduction is just a byproduct of doing it right. So if your lean initiative feels like austerity, like structured, and then you miss the philosophy. Lean is long-term competitiveness. That's where you want to go with it. So what would you do? Look at your system building, and is it building towards excellence? Really is the question. Okay.
And how often do you go to the Gemba?
Yeah, should be daily. I mean, to some degree.
And if you don't, it's just a field trip. It's not going to your true north. You're not accomplishing anything. You're just doing a field trip and checking a box off that, hey, I did my Gemba walk this week or whatever. No, go there whenever you get an opportunity, because guess what? That's where the value add is. Those are the only people that your customers are willing to pay for.
Yeah, you got it.
Not me as a leader.
Your waste. Really, your waste. I mean, you might argue you're non-value added, but necessary, but in general, you're waste. If we could do the job without you, the product would get built and shipped and sent to the customer, and they wouldn't care that you got all these supervisors, looking around to make improvements. They wouldn't care.
Nope.
So get out there as soon as you can and see what you can do to make their life easier and better.
Yeah. Ask questions.
In the app called OW64, Tom, we talked about, look, there's 75 lessons there. We're on lesson 4. And we got some questions that you can type right into the app as a leader. And I'll just give you the questions here. What is one area in your life where you can focus on continuous improvement this week? So the listener should think about that, type that one area, get to work. How can showing respect for someone help them improve? It's a good question. I'm not going to answer it for you, but how can doing that help them improve? We're going to ask our coaches that question. And what is one way you can combine teamwork and individual growth in your daily activities?
Mm-hmm.
Every time you and I get together, it's teamwork, Tom, and I'm growing because, first of all, we're accountability buddies, right?
Yeah.
You're holding me accountable to doing my work, and I'm doing the same for you. Anything else to add, Tom?
No, I think this was a great topic on True North. There's so much we could go on forever on. I mean, honestly, we could go on for hours on this, but the podcast is short, so we'll keep it to this.